Long time, sir.
We're giving pressure already.
Was that crying?
Trying to get away.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a pleasure to see you here once again. Our first presenter is the Prime Minister, Honorable Philip J. Pierre, who is also the Minister for Finance, Economic Development, the Youth Economy, Minister for Justice and National Security. He has a few remarks, and as always, we will observe the housekeeping rules. Prime Minister.
Thank you very much. Good morning. I'm just want to make a short statement, and then I will open the mic, open the floor. You may have remembered that I announced in the budget that there was a housing initiative with the Taiwanese government for $20 million to be injected into housing. I want to inform members of the press that we've completed that arrangement, and there was concern about the spread of the interest rate, and we have completed that arrangement, and I can tell you that we've agreed on the terms and conditions of the loan from the Taiwanese government to the St. Lucia Development Bank, and the next step is the agreement to be finalized. All the terms and conditions have been negotiated, and I'm very pleased to tell you that very soon the prospective homeowners of St. Lucia will have access to $20 million US on lending from the St. Lucia Development Bank. We hope that public servants will take advantage of this initiative. As you know, we have already allowed $400,000 of any mortgage that's $400,000 or less. There'll be no stamp duty, plus the fact that we've removed VAT on building materials to create an incentive for housing. So that $20 million injection, plus what's happening in the private sector, in the banking sector as far as housing is concerned, I'm sure that the housing boom that is in St. Lucia now will continue in the foreseeable future. We also signed we also completed arrangements for the St. Lucia government to join CAF, Caribbean, which is a financial institution that is geared to borrow money to small island developing states. You must have heard that St. Lucia was accepted by the CAF board some time ago, and now we've signed all the arrangements. The next step again will be coming to Parliament for the agreement to be endorsed by Parliament, and St. Lucia will be a full-fledged member of CAF, and the benefits of CAF will begin to accrue. As you know, one of the first benefits from CAF is a grant, a grant towards the country for any project that they want. We hope to be able to access that grant. And also, the other important feature of CAF is if there's a natural disaster, they move in almost immediately. You must have heard in Jamaica, and I want to use this opportunity to express our concern and say we have reached out to the government of Jamaica, but CAF moved in directly to Jamaica. So this is the advantage of joining CAF. So again, St. Lucia will benefit from its involvement in the CAF Bank. These are all the announcements I want to make, and I don't know if you have any questions. I will take questions from you. Thank you. I don't know if you have any questions on these two announcements, but the mic is open for questions from you.
Good morning, Mr. PM. The UWP made 5 pronouncements last night.
The who?
UWP.
Okay.
5 pronouncements last night. Youth ambassadors, one. Grants for youth business.
Hold on, I was in Schussel, I didn't.
Yeah, okay, well, I'm just telling you now.
Can I write them down?
Yes. youth ambassadors,
Uh-huh.
grants for youth business, digital economy,
The UDP. They said they'll have they will do it. Create one.
digital economy,
A digital economy.
yes, UWP mortgage guarantee program,
Okay, sorry.
yeah, mortgage guarantee program. What is your take on these programs?
And okay, somebody also says there's some den resegmenting, a special show for the den resegment. I think so. Somebody told me so.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. But I want to deal with that one first because that one is really almost ludicrous. You may have heard from some time how a former UDAP minister was critical of the den resegment. I don't know if your memory serves you right. I think so. Maybe you may be able to find that tip if you go into the records. How she was very critical about the den resegments for the quality of their music. You recall that? Mm-hmm. You know, I just want to DBS. You remember that? Oh, you didn't. You don't. Probably you're too young.
Jerry?
There was a minister, government minister was very critical about the den resegment, extremely critical. So much so, some of the artists had to come in defense of the den resegment. But it's passing strange that the government has downgraded the jazz festival. A government that says that too much money was spent on the jazz festival when they were in government. Now they would have another festival. This is almost ludicrous because here's a government that said that there's too much money in the jazz festival. Now we have absolutely no issues with the den resegment. You may recall that it was our government that started some time ago from when it was NDC. We assisted musical groups through NDC. Now NDC is now called Invest St. Lucia. This is our government that began directly. The person involved was Will Vitalis, who was the in charge of NDC at the time when we started giving grants to musicians. That was the first time. Even my friend at DBS remembers that. That started with us. Just want to remind. Because, now is the time when we have to go back and refresh people's memories. This is our government. So we know about the den resegment. We supported the den resegment. But to speak now of having a special what for the den resegment, when this is the same government when they're in power, they downgraded the jazz festival, the den resegment, because remember, it's the jazz and music festival. The den resegment could have got or can get a spot on the jazz festival and get the same exposure. But the government has downgraded it because they downgraded the jazz festival. Now they are speaking about something about the segment. I'm not seeing where that makes sense, but let me go on record as saying I would support anything to help the den segment, help any music in the country. But it doesn't make any sense for government that has downgraded music festivals when they're in government. Secondly, you said something about grants for young people. Again, if your memory is not too short, that is the opposition that criticized the youth economy. That was the same opposition that said the youth economy was a joke. They said that didn't make any sense. They said what the young people needed was Ojo Labs, which we have. And I remember I retorted by saying our government was the government that started OJ Labs. In fact, not OJ Labs, the name OJ Labs, but our government is a government that improved and expanded on back office operations. KM2, I made a point that KM2 started with a joint venture between KM2 and a local private sector. They operated from Union. So I said that was the business of OJ Labs was nothing new to us. And true to form, we have expanded came to with government support has expanded to the Orange Grove Plaza. So we had no issues with that. But they said that was where youth employment should have gone. They criticized the youth economy as a joke. Now, that's the same people went in opposition speaking about $25,000 for youth grants. I want you, now, again on record, we are the government that started youth grants for the youth economy. I want you to do the maths. We've given 1,900 grants. Multiply 1,900 by 25,000 and tell me what's the sum. But I'm saying that is for a party that criticized the youth economy. For now, to make an election promise sounds really like electioneering. Then you made the point about youth ambassadors. I'd like to get more explanation about what that is. Anybody can be an ambassador. If to be an ambassador, you have to be the age, a particular age. We have no issues if young people represented. We are the party again that gave a diplomatic passport to Julian Alfred. We are the party giving a diplomatic passport to Darren Sammy. We the party who did that. So we don't understand the concept, but we would support anything, as our history has shown. We would support anything to advance the young people of this country. And you spoke about the digital economy. You said what they would create a digital economy? Again, a little more explanation. If you know, we announced 2-3 weeks ago cyber security training for everyone. You know, there's DigiGov. We are the party that started one computer per child. That's where it starts, from there. So again, we want to find out what really that's all about. But we were on the way with our cyber security, with the fact that we have begun the youth economy. We have begun the one computer per child, one laptop per child program, and we've got the TVET schools, which again accesses on training in this regard. But I guess the Minister of Education will one day expand on what to remind solutions, what the government has done, what the government plans to do, on what we have done or we are doing, to expand on that. And the other one, you spoke about a mortgage guarantee. Again, I'd like to find out what's the form. Does the government guarantee the mortgage? Does the bank guarantee the mortgage? What you must, we've said it, we've been clear on housing. We've said $400,000, everybody. Once you approved by the Solution Development Bank, $400,000, no stamp duty. Be clear. We're also clear, we've said no VAT on building materials, everybody. No selective. Once you qualify, you get it. That's what we're saying. Now, when you talk about mortgage guarantee, are you going to be selective? Is it only, are these only going to be for party people? How do you do it? So again, we need more explanation on these things, because we've heard many things before. We've heard 23 islands. We've heard many things before. We've heard many plans before, and then none of them have come to light. But what I want to say to you is that look at our manifesto, and I want again to invite you to our achievements meeting, where we are going to outline in detail the achievements of this government, in detail, tangible achievements that you can touch, that the public can feel, because they've happened. So I want to really ask you to attend that achievements meeting that is going to be held shortly. So I think that these promises are what they are, promises. They have no basis in reality, and they have no basis in records. I mean, you can look at a record and see what you did when you were there before. Our record is clear. What we did: universal secondary education. That's what we did. We moved Then we're going to universal primary school education. Now we're talking about you're talking about universal early childhood. The record is clear, the sequence of events. That's what we've done. And so I want the public of St. Lucia to look at the records. This election is going to be an election of achievement and an election of records. What is your record? Because you're not dealing with a party that was not in government before. They were in government twice before. And that is something that I want the public of St. Lucia to remember. These are people who were in government before. Government is not new to them. They're in government before. So we want to be able to discuss these records and see who did what when. And based on the record, we can see what is credible and what's not credible.
Yeah, yes, Mr. PM, good day. We know that the housing issue is a crucial component in the development of the country. You've spoken about the social housing, and now with this new initiative with the Taiwanese, you want to spread it out to, to a social strata, to more people.
More people get exposed, yes.
But what about the criteria? Would there be a criteria? Is there a timeline?
Okay.
Or the phases? Just a little clarification as to how that is unfold. Yes.
That $20 million US house is a loan from the Taiwanese to the St. Lucia Development Bank, which is given guaranteed by the government. The bank will have their criteria about the borrowing. But there also is another component. And again, I want to announce to you that the Talvan Housing Project has started. And I want to invite you to go and have a look at Talvan, where we started. And you must have seen some time ago some people almost laughing that they thought that the Rockall Housing Project had not begun, and they call it the BMAC site. You must have heard what the court said about the BMAC. Good for yourself, And I just wanted to remind you that any time you've asked me about these things, I've told you I believe in justice, I believe in the law, and I follow the law. Remember when you asked me about BMAC, I told you, as far as I was concerned, the BMAC contract had ended, and the courts validated that. I guess the Deputy Prime Minister will tell you a lot more about that. So you asked me about BMAC, and then you heard some person almost laughing at the BMAC site. I don't know where the BMAC site is. I really want to find out where is the BMAC site. Where is it? I don't know. What I can tell you is that we've got planning approval now. Complete planning approval for the Rockall housing. And I also want to tell you that Cabinet has approved it, and the Rockall housing project is going to be a CIP project, and is going to, so the funding has been secured through the CIP. We've got planning approval for all sectors, and we're going to be starting with one building in the near future. So I don't know where the BMAC site is. I don't know where it is. Somebody can tell me where the BMAC site is. I'll be very, very happy to find out where the BMAC site is. So that's going to be housing there. Then there's a Talvan estate where work has started. The Talvan building, and if you go to Talvan now, you will see construction. You will see the site has been laid up, and the foundations are going to start very short. You see, we are a government that does things not for expediency, but we do things with the proper rules and regulations. We follow the DCA, and then we're waiting for these approvals. All of it has come now, so we are moving forward. So to answer your question, the $20 million through the development bank has to go according to development bank criteria. The rest of it, Talvan and Rockall, they're going to be going according to they'll be going to the National Housing Corporation, and based on their income criteria, we'll see how that goes. But I want to also tell you that the Proud project, we're giving land to the landless. And remember, we had announced that anybody who's in government lands for 30 years will get that land free. So we are giving that land free, the 30 years. So these people now will be able to expand on their housing, and they will go to the bank and borrow money for their housing. We also we've maintained the duty-free, the VAT-free status on building materials. That means people will be able to get their materials cheaper. And right now, there's great difficulty sometimes to get a carpenter or mason. You know that. Great difficulty. Then there's no cement sometimes. So the building boom is continuing based on these initiatives by the government.
And what would be the location for this latest housing initiative? Is there a location as yet, a site?
No, I told you Talvan and Rockall. And the rest of it will be on land that the people have got for staying there for 40 years.
But I'm talking about the 20 million. There's not yet.
No location is going to people asking to borrow money based on where they have the land. Yes.
Okay, just one last thing. We in the election mode, and we saw you introduce your Choiseul candidate yesterday.
And that completes our set of
Yes.
candidates.
Now, one thing we note from it is that his delivery was, to a certain extent, away from the scandal and the warmongering. Was this a highlight? Were you pleased? Were you satisfied that this is a trend that you could take into the election as you move along?
Well, first of all, I'm very excited about our slate, about our new candidates. We have some candidates that are very capable and that they have accounted well for themselves. My new candidates have followed the government in that we are raising the level of debate. Right? My new candidates have candidates, they've never spoken about Laja Bless, or they've never spoken about Bolums. My new candidates have spoken about things for the constituency. My candidate in Microsoft, a doctor, a practicing doctor, a doctor who has never worked in private practice. And I want you to note that. That's a doctor who's been born and bred, went to school, went to the University of the West Indies, then became a doctor. She's in medical practice for about 15 to 20 years. Don't hold me on the dates. She's never been in private practice, never. She's never gone out and said, let me open my own office. She's been a community doctor all the time. It shows you she's about service. She's about serving people. And now she's raising her hand and saying to me, I want to serve at a different level in government. So I'm very, very proud of that candidate. Then we have a candidate in Southeast Castries, and you should know what she has to endure, and what she will endure, and what she'll continue to endure as the election campaign comes. What I endure every day. You should know that. But we're not, but you know, I told you before, our achievements will see us through. Our record will see us through. And I want people to challenge us on our record, on our achievements, on the things we've done, on where the country is now. That's what I want people to challenge us on, our record. So my candidate in Southeast Castries, they'll throw the kitchen sink at her. The same way they did with Joachim Henry. Even in terms of death. Even in terms of death, they threw the kitchen sink at him. Right? You may have heard, and when they pretend they want to quote people, when people have some levity, you may remember when somebody said to him, if you come to a church and I see you, if I go to the church and I see you, I will run. I don't know if you remember that, but people have very short memories, and this election campaign will be a memory campaign. We'll go back in memory lane. People must be made accountable for their words and the actions before. It cannot be a campaign for people like you that have just done your job as journalists. No, it can't be. It's got to be a campaign where people are going to be made accountable for what they said and what they did. And you may recall how Joachim Henry was treated. Now, Lisa Henry, it's the same situation. They throw the kitchen sink at her. Good. So that's candidate number 2. And Lisa is doing very well. Then we have our other candidate, that is Danny Butcher. Danny Butcher is a gem. Danny Butcher is an educator, a PhD student, has taught all his life, again, in service, working in the community from Vieux Fort, of Vieux Fort, with Vieux Fort, a gem, Danny Butcher. And then we've got Kitson Charles, again, you heard him yourself, from Choiseul, of Choiseul, community person, musician, electrician, worked with people in Choiseul, a gem. So we have these seats, and then you have John Paul Estefan in thing. And again, it's very paradoxical. You may recall when John Paul Estefan took his position to want to run first. You know, you see the things he was called? See how he was abused? Then when John Paul, in his normal, congenial way, some of us are different, when he decided that in the Creole Festival, it would be okay for him to have pleasantries with the leader of the opposition. You see what was done with it? You see what was done with it? So, I want to tell you that I'm very, very excited about these elections. But it's going to be a test of what this government has done. Our record, we are running this election on our record. And we're going to be documenting these records in a booklet on our record and our achievements. Very, very interesting.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister.
How are you, Ms. Motut?
I'm doing well, thank you. The last time we spoke, you mentioned that you would be meeting with the police to discuss new measures for road safety. Has this meeting happened?
No, it hasn't. I must say it hasn't. I've had a phone call with the Commissioner of Police, but we've not had the meeting, and this is still on my agenda, but I haven't had it.
And my final question, with elections drawing closer, a lot of people have been questioning whether or not it would be a good idea for St. Lucia to start doing debates between parties. Is this something that you are open to? Do you believe this is a good idea?
Ms. Montut, let me tell you my not reservations. The facts are with me, and the government has the facts on its side. But you know, let me just go back a bit about debates. You must have heard about the health and security levy. You heard the leader of the opposition. He vehemently said that the health and security levy was for 2 years. And he also said that I had never come back to tell the public that it was not for 2 years. The Prime Minister of St. Lucia never said that health and security levy was 2 years. I went to the Parliament and I read the excerpt from my budget address while listed the health and security levy. Then I went to the law that was passed in both the Senate and the House of Assembly that never said it was 2 years. No one else you can tell. You haven't even asked him the question. You haven't even asked him the question, whether he forgot or whether he missed it. No commentator. We've forgotten that. How can I debate in that level? Tell me, how is it possible to debate on that? I want you to help me. How could I debate with that kind of misinformation? I can't. I can't debate. I mean, things that are clear. The health and security levy was passed in the Parliament. It was debated. The leader of the opposition says it's for 2 years. He stands by it. We show him it's not for 2 years. We show him the law. He stands by it. Nobody has asked him anything about it. We just allow that to pass. So how can I debate that? Tell me, honestly, if you're me, you would debate that? I can't. I can only debate on things that have some level of correct information. Yes.
What do you think of the debates, as she said, with having the debates with...
Well-structured debates are very good. Well, very good.
Would you feel it would be good for the politics of St. Lucia?
But you can only debate when your debater is living in a world of reality. But I just give you an example. So suppose I was in a debate. How would I deal with that?
Say the truth.
And
Say the truth.
okay. But I mean, how you can debate with people who just say figures? 20%, 40%, with no basis. How can I debate with that? I mean, so I tell you something. I have always asked for St. Lucia, let's have a seasoned policy debate. How can I debate with someone who says that, when I gave you like the health and security levy example, how can I debate with somebody who refuses to accept the verdict of a court? How can I debate? Anyhow, but I'm open. Once the criteria is right, I'll consult with my party. And once the criteria is well set, must be, But we have nothing to hide. Our achievements are clear. Yes? Thank you very much, Jerry. Thank you. Yeah, you have a question?
Afternoon, Mr. Prime Minister. Just one more question, though, just before you go. So last week, before the sitting of Senate, we recently just saw the swearing in of 2 brand new senators for the opposition side, so basically a complete new roster, as well as the resignation of Dominic Fede, as well as Harold Stanislas. I just wanted to know, what is your take on this complete new reshuffling of Senate for the opposition? What's your take on this?
I wish the new Senate as well. It has become, the opposition benches have become kind of musical chairs. But I wish them well. I have no problems. I wish them well. I hope they can raise the level of debate in the Senate. We need sensible debates. We need debates based on alternative policy. We need debates based on truth. So I welcome them and I wish them well. I hope their tenure is a lot longer than their predecessors.
Prime Minister.
Yes, Jerry.
Prime Minister,
Yes, sir.
I know you've been talking about a lot of things in relation to your achievement and things. But as the Prime Minister Essential, what would you say is your biggest achievement so far coming to the next general elections?
You see, the achievements have been so big and varied that it's very difficult for me to say what I think my biggest achievement. I think it's the minimum wage. Because the minimum wage is the substance of my party. The substance is the history of George Charles. And George Charles's history has not been properly ventilated. I believe that the Labour Party's largest achievement is the minimum wage. And our promise to look at the minimum wage and have a minimum wage for the different sectors. And I also think another achievement was our ascension to the Caribbean Court of Justice. That showed confidence in our system, that showed belief in our people, that showed that we thought our judicial system was ready, and St. Lucia had the confidence to have the final court in the city. So I think these two were the biggest ones. And the youth economy comes a very quick third.
One of the biggest concern that St. Lucians have is the whole issue of St. Jude's. They say that your party really were on the heels of promising that they will deliver, that you will deliver St. Jude's. Do you feel that if you don't, it would be?
Oh yeah, we will deliver St. Jude's. But I want to tell you, again, I've said so to you before. The OKEU hospital was ready from 2015. A transitioning board led by Dr. Stephen King was done. 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, COVID caused us to rush. For that commissioning, we brought Cayman City that cost the public $25 million. So I just want to tell you that St. Jude as a building is fine. St. Jude as a hospital has to get commissioned. So our promise is to give you the building. He said so, to make it available. And I want to tell you, St. Jude will be available. And I also want you to compare it with what we got and your 6 months state-of-the-art hospital. Compare it. When you see it, compare it. We want to invite you. I've asked the management of St. Jude to invite the press. Let you come, Jerry. To invite the press to have a look at St. Jude.
One final question from me.
Yes.
We have seen a lull. Well, the police have just dropped the report stating that crime has been decreased. We have seen a lull in the whole issue of crime and thing. As a government, do you believe that your government has done enough to suppress crime in St. Lucia?
I don't know if governments suppress crime. I know governments have policies to help to help suppress crime. I don't think the government has policies. And again, our record is clear. You know, Jerry, I've always said to people, look at our record. Look at the resources we've given to the police. Look at the recruits. The people from the RSS here were surprised that St. Lucia had over 200 new bodies in law enforcement. They were surprised. Look at the northern headquarters we're building for the police. Look at the Viva headquarters. Look at our record. Look at our record. That's all I'm saying to you. Look at our record. That's all I'm saying to them. Look at our record. Do you know we've spent millions of dollars at Baudelaire? When you came, you want to find out, and for national security reasons, you can disclose it. The state of Baudelaire when you came to the government. You understand? You know, so that's why I'm confident that the St. Lucian public will not change. Because they have seen our record, despite the naysayers, despite the prophets of doom, despite the misinformation bans. We have not changed. When I hear people say St. Lucia country has no democracy, I mean, you have to put on your radio every day to hear about the democracy of St. Lucia. When you talk about the victimization, when I came to government, I kept the commissioner of police. I kept all the ranks in the police. I kept all the permanent secretaries. Victimizing. I kept the cabinet secretary. Find out what happened to the cabinet secretary in the last government. Find out. I want you, young journalists, to make do some research. What happened to the cabinet secretary in the last government? I kept the cabinet secretary that I got. I kept the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance when I came to the government. When people talk about victimization, I kept the commissioner of police. I kept all the ranks in the police. The commissioner stayed, the deputy commissioner stayed, everybody stayed when I came to the government. You talk about the victim. Where is the evidence? So, you know, I really want, and I'm happy that we are in the election season. Because right now, I'll be unfettered. I have to remove my prime ministerial clothing and become a full-time, full-fledged political campaigner. Because I have things to say. I have things to say. I have to put the record straight in this country. I've kept very quiet. I have been battered. I have been misinformation on me and my government. But right now, we have to put the record straight. Because there's been too much misinformation in St. Lucia in the last 4 years. Too much. And without any rancor, I promise you, I'll never slander anybody. I'll never attack anybody's children. I'll never attack anybody's wife or partner or spouse. And I will never talk about anybody's sexual preferences. Never. Because many people have skeletons in the cupboards. Or can I say all of us have skeletons in our cupboards? So when people make pronouncements, when people make loud pronouncements and call hallelujah, 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 you understand? I'm not going there. I'm going on achievements, I'm going on policy, I'm going to what you have done for the people of St. Lucia. So you will never get me no matter what comes out of the other side, you'll never get me responding. I'll respond on fact, because facts are on my side. 4 years of economic growth, lowest unemployment ever. Facts. That's what I've got. I start talking about debt. I mean, this is ludicrous. St. Lucia was the highest indebted country after COVID. Highest. And the records are clear. So, I'm very excited. I think the facts are on our side. I think the misinformation will continue. It will get worse. The slander will get worse. The lies will get worse. But we are confident that the people of St. Lucia know better.
Will it be before Christmas or after Christmas?
Merry Christmas.
We're trying to get that deep down.
I now present our second presenter, who is the Deputy Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Honorable Dr. Ernest Hilaire. And today, it's going to be slightly different. Dr. Hilaire is going to speak to an open mic. We have about 10 minutes with him. Dr. Hilaire.
Thank you very much, lady and gentlemen, ladies. I'm not sure in the media world what open mic means, you know. Yeah. I'll tease it. Because, I mean, as much as I'm going to take questions, I thought I should just openly express how I felt judgment last week, judgment in the CIP case, the decision against Alan Chastanet, I think for me was personally a very satisfying, although expected, result. But for the country, it was a monumental decision. I don't think you appreciate just how significant that decision was for St. Lucia. And whilst we still have the substantive matter to be heard early next year, if you read the judgment, the judge has already signaled a number of grounds on which the injunction was not granted. And, a major observation by her, or statement by her, is that a lot of the evidence that was provided was speculative. I mean, he was saying things that happened in other countries and assuming and claiming that they were also happening in St. Lucia. And he would have to come and really prove it. And we've always said those matters and Martinez matters had nothing to do with St. Lucia. So personally, I have to tell you, we've gone through a lot at the CIP. A lot has happened. The relentless onslaught by Martinez on our CIP, the support given to Martinez by our Prime Minister and the United Workers' Party. And we always of the view, and I said so and I repeated it in the House, that he had a very deliberate plan, and it was to destroy the CIP so it can affect St. Lucia and hurt St. Lucia's economy. And I made the point in Parliament, can you imagine if the infrastructure option that we had signed had actually started, because we never got to start it. You talk about hundreds of millions of dollars that could have been spent in the last 2 years upgrading roads all over St. Lucia, bridges, playing fields, sporting facilities, cultural facilities. Just imagine you having, almost $500 million to spend over 2 to 3 years on infrastructure in the country. And that's what he stopped. He actually stopped it. So when people boast of how well the government has done, how well Philip JP has done, imagine if you had a few more $100 million to spend on this country where we could have been right now. Problems at Wasco, that we could have attended to. The schools, the state of our schools, all those things could have been attended to. And he stopped it effectively, because by starting the court action and causing the response that we had to do, I think it affected St. Lucia badly. And, once this clears out, we'll have to start all over again. But what he also did was to join all those who've been criticizing the CIP, expressing concern about it, and virtually causing some of our partner countries to say to us, you see what we've said to y'all? This program is a high-risk program, this program is a this, and your own people are saying, your own people are claiming. So it really undermined the standing of the different Caribbean countries. And he joined that call internationally. And if you remember in the House or last week, Tuesday, I want you to go back and listen to the start of his presentation. He starts off by saying we are here because of corruption in all the islands and mismanagement in all the islands. That's how he started. And that's a story he went all over the world saying, because he wanted other partner countries to act against the program. And certainly in my rebuttal, I had to point out to him all the key instances where he was the one for his action that undermined the programs and what we have done to rebuild the program. So, I think he was destructive, he was malicious, it was intentional, and he wanted St. Lucia to suffer. And if St. Lucia suffered, it meant his political stocks would rise. But I think St. Lucians have seen him for what he is and who he is. And he just continues. The latest clip I heard this morning really blew me away. That when somebody can say that he's had a better life than most people, and he's never been happy with the life that the Most High has given to him. I mean, this one really shocked me. Most people are grateful for what the good Lord has given them and to make the best of it. I mean, that's what we taught when we were growing up, not for us to say, I've never been satisfied in my life with what God has given me. I don't even know how a good Christian person can say something like that. But, the people of St. Lucia will have another opportunity to express their feelings and sentiments and how they, what they think should be the future for him. Again, I will continue to stay focused throughout this thing, and this has been going on for almost 10 years, this relentless attack from the leader of the opposition. And he just shifts from one thing to the next, and I'm waiting for the next line of attack and whatnot, and to stay focused, make sure we deliver to the people. Right now, like I said, we have a delegation in Nigeria that's doing quite well at the Lagos Fashion Week, and we're going to start getting ready for the, it's not the announcement of the jazz lineup tomorrow in London, but there's going to be a preview of the Jazz Festival tomorrow in London. I'm not at liberty to say much, but I'm going to tell you that we're going to have probably the most exciting jazz festival next year, based on what I've been briefed on. So, we're going to continue to push. We've already started our planning for Carnival 2026, and we're expecting it to be even bigger. So we're going to continue to work as hard as we can and stay in focus and delivering for the people of St. Lucia.
Yes, Mr. Minister, we've noticed the growing media landscape, its transformation, its broadening into social media, online marketing, What I note mostly is that in the absence of a media association, we don't have a media association or press club, or these things that would bind the media practitioners together. Are you conscious, or are you aware of any options that we will put forward in terms of strengthening that media landscape? Because we know we have a lot of talk shows, we have a lot of radio shows. I remember the Echo Man was telling me that it costs you like $500 to open a radio station. But are you concerned? Yeah, well, some years ago, I don't know for now, but it costs as little as $500 to just open a station. But in terms of the regulation, because now is a lot of misconception, a lot of fake news, democratically speaking, not to infringe on anyone's rights, but at least something to regulate, because St. Lucia is growing out to the world, and so some regulations, some standard in place in the new year. Yeah. Do you see this transformation, to help develop, and strengthen the media landscape?
Well, I think it's amazing that if there is one sector of the society we have to make sure that it is never controlled by the state and managed by the state, is the media sector. You really expect the media, when people talk about the conscience of society, in many ways the media serves as a conscience of society. They are the ones, who really on a daily basis have to hold those with power in check and accountable by asking the right questions and doing research and really being able to come out there and to present information and to hold, like I say, authorities accountable. And you don't ever want government, in all societies where governments control the media, it's not a very healthy democracy. So I'm one who don't believe in that. I mean, I think we should have a thriving, free and open media landscape, where the media feels that they can do their job and they should do their job. And, once you start talking about regulations, people start getting skittish, because unless you have a very mature setting where people realize this is not control, but this is regulation to prevent abuse, and not abuse by professional practicing media personnel, practicing by a lot of shams and charlatans they have who claim to be media, and they're not really media persons, but they claim to be. And they pretend that, they are journalists, and, and talk show hosts is the new phenomenon. Well, it's not new anymore, but, anybody can start a talk show and share information and influence public opinion and claim that they're part of the media. Now, is a talk show host part of the media? I don't know. I'm not sure I can define the media as well as you do. But we have to encourage the media. We're always available as the ministry to provide support. I mean, if you need resources to bring media persons together, if you need a consultant to sit with you all to help you all put things in place, we will support that. But I would never want to be part of any attempt to go in and to be deciding how to structure the media and how to manage the media. I don't think politicians should be doing that at all. But we are available to support the media as best as we can. We need a media. There's nothing better than a nice story, or you read a nice story where somebody actually did research and they analyzed something that has been done or said. And sometimes as politicians, we don't like it when we come under severe criticism, but it's necessary. And once it's done in the right spirit, you just have to live with it. I've told people in my public life, I have learned most from public criticism. And I can trace it all the way back, to my youth leadership days, to cricket World Cup. Some of the best ideas I've gotten from people criticizing, and I can never forget, preparing for Cricket World Cup. We got it almost right, so right, because people were just so engaged, and I got a lot of blows. I remember when we first proposed Park and Ride, fellas crucify me for suggesting that. We should have park and ride, and man can't come and park their vehicle by the field anymore, and things like that. But then people started suggesting, you see, if you're doing it, that's how you all must do it. And I started saying, but, not making sense, maybe we should do it that way. And you learn from that. But it was being done with good intent. It wasn't like people wanted to destroy the project. It was foreign to them, it was new to them, and they were saying what they would be comfortable with. And you learn a lot from that. So I think we should encourage the media. And the professionalization of the media is really important. And we are available to make resources available for the media to do it itself, not for us to do it for them.
Okay, let's go back to the CIP. What do you think about this judgment, particularly the injunction refusal?
What do I think of it?
Yeah,
well, I think that's basically what I did when I started. I mean, I explained to you what I felt as an individual coming to this point, that so much had been said. I don't know if I'm sure you're in the media, the amount of things that were said about me. I mean, the amount of things that were said about me and this and the vilification every single day in, day out. And to go to court, and, everywhere you go around the world, people asking about this court case they file against you. And you just have to deal with it. And at the end of the day, look what has happened. Look what has happened. There's a present person going up for elections now. He sang in a song, that I had a vote at my home full of the CIP money. And I laughed at it. Yeah, it's apocalypse, but I still laughed at it. But then when they said something about him, he served papers on the person. It's really amazing, huh? You said what you said about somebody. You accuse them of all kinds of things, and you let it fly. But the day they say one thing about you, you run and serve legal papers on the person for saying something about you. But I've been through this, but it makes you feel vindicated in a way.
What do you expect? Do you expect the opposition leader to come up with for the hearing next January. What do you expect? What do you expect him to come up with? What do you expect? I'm asking. What do you expect him to come up with?
Yeah, I don't know. To be honest with you, I can't even see why. But why would he go ahead with the case? I don't know why he would go ahead with the case. Honestly, I don't even know why he would go ahead with the case. He might be able to come up with something from somewhere, but I don't even know that there's anything to come up with. There's no. If you read the judgment, you'll see the futility in he trying to do anything because it's a foolish case. But he might appeal it. It might go all the way to CCJ again, and they'll probably have another judgment against him in the CCJ like the last one. But it's just ridiculous. It's just foolish. You know, I've still not even gotten over the CCJ one yet. Seriously. I mean, you have to be a lunatic that, you know, when you first thing my lawyers wrote and said, the document you're asking for, you have it already. And you just went on and on with a case, and then the case now took another form because, you know, and it just went on until the highest judges had to say, from the start, this thing was bound to fail because you had the document already. I mean, how do you do that? Unless for one reason, political. One reason, political, that you must harm Ernest Hilaire beyond repair. No, but that's what it's about, is to try to harm me politically beyond repair. But you see what they don't understand? All my life, when I was a 15-year-old involved in student councils at secondary school, it's about just serving. All my life. Student, youth, community activists into political life. It's just about service. Nothing makes me tick. Planning jazz for next year and carnival for next year, and you know, already planning for the opening of Anse Fair and you know, the Earth Tour in Roselle, and thinking of the hotels that will be open next year and getting more flight to St. Lucia. Nothing makes me tick more than that. So, I mean, they can spend all their time. Just also think about it. If the leader of the opposition had spent as much time as he has chasing me and trying to persecute me on really being a success as a prime minister, I probably wouldn't be here today. Seriously. If all the time that an effort has been spent coming after me, and maybe even later on, I mean, if he had just spent that time trying to be a good prime minister, maybe I wouldn't even be here as a minister. You'd still be in office. But, you know, it is what it is.